I've never had less faith in the future of Xbox. What the heck is going on? So, Microsoft earlier today, announced mass layoffs, and this one's pretty substantial. We're looking at 4% of the entire workforce across all of Microsoft, not just the gaming division, across all of Microsoft, but that doesn't mean that the gaming division hasn't been impacted. But when it comes to Microsoft as a whole, 4%, that's roughly 9,000 people impacted across the board. And that's, by the way, on top of an additional 6,000 employees that were laid off back in May of 2025 as part of quote-unquote restructuring. Now, when it comes to the Xbox division specifically, Phil Spencer sent out the following email to staff highlighting how we will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. I recognize that these changes come at a time when we have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. And that's the part that stings. It's not like Microsoft as a company is struggling and Xbox here claim that they're doing better than ever, and yet their move is to lay off the people who made that possible. The statement continues, our platform, hardware, and game roadmap have never looked stronger. The success we're seeing currently is based on tough decisions we've made previously. No, the success you're currently seeing is based on the human beings who helped build the company and its endeavors to where it's at now. That's the real reason for success. But Phil says that we must make choices now for continued success in future years, and a key part of that strategy is the discipline to prioritize the strongest opportunities. We'll protect what is thriving and concentrate effort on areas with the greatest potential while delivering on the expectations the company has for our business. This focused approach means we can deliver exceptional games and experiences for players for generations to come. There it is. It's all ultimately about protecting the corporation and its agendas. The main focus, as stated here, is delivering on the expectations the company has for our business. So how have these layoffs specifically impacted Microsoft's gaming division? Well, we have numerous articles and numerous reports that detail the sheer impact and damage that this has done. So right here we have an article from news outlet Windows Central, and among the studios that have been shut down as a result of these layoffs is The Initiative. And that is because Microsoft and Xbox have made the decision to cancel Perfect Dark. For those who don't know, The Initiative was set up all the way back in 2018, and among the leaders was Daryl Gallagher, who led the development of the rebooted Tomb Raider series that went on to do fairly well. He was recruited to lead The Initiative in the development of the Perfect Dark revival. Hell, it was only last year during Xbox Game Showcase 2024 that they showed off gameplay, indicating that development of this game was moving along and that, there were high hopes that the game would see some kind of launch, but this game is now officially canceled, and it was that cancellation that ultimately led to the demise of The Initiative. This is a studio that essentially has never shipped a game and were solely dedicated on working on this Perfect Dark revival, but this was a troubled development that Microsoft deemed not worth the investment. And this is a damn shame because a lot of people were looking forward to this game specifically, Perfect Dark being a game series that is beloved, with Rare having established it all the way back in the N64 days. People were feeling like Perfect Dark was perfect for some kind of modern reboot. And it would seem as though that's just something that we will not see anytime soon anymore. And while we're on the topic of Rare, following Sea of Thieves, they're working on this new game called Everwild. Well, guess what? Everwild has also been canceled. And then beyond that, ZeniMax Online was working on a new MMORPG codenamed Blackbird. That got axed as well. So we've got sweeping project cancellations across the board, and in turn, tons of layoffs and studio shutdowns to go along with it. Xbox Game Studio head Matt Booty was the one who relayed this news to staff within the company via the following email sent internally, where he essentially said the same corporate bullshit of these decisions, along with other changes across our teams, reflect a broader effort to adjust priorities and focus resources to set up our teams for greater success within a changing industry landscape, so on and so forth. Nothing of real substance here. And then right here we have a report from Jason Schreier, who through news outlet Bloomberg relayed that they've also laid off folks in the King division of Activision Blizzard King, which they bought out not that long ago for billions and billions of dollars. This is the company that develops Candy Crush, and within that company, 10% of staff will be cut, so that's around 200 jobs. Beyond that, you've got Raven Software, who develop Call of Duty. They also announce workforce reductions or layoffs across the board. Beyond that, Jason Schreier reports that ZeniMax Online's new MMORPG that they were working on, codenamed Blackbird, was in development since as far back as 2018. All of those efforts have now been flushed down the toilet. The way layoffs are being handled is also chaotic, according to Jason Schreier, noting a situation where employees at ZeniMax Online Studios are now watching their Slack accounts abruptly get locked out. Slack being this chat app where employees can essentially communicate. No message from HR, no word on whether they still have a job, just an ominous Slack deactivation. You know who else got impacted by this? Turn 10, developers of Forza Motorsport. This is a development studio that have delivered nothing but bangers and highly rated and reviewed games. Even they face the brunt of mass layoffs. Nearly 50% of Forza Motorsport's development studio have been laid off. At 50% staff reduction, I'm not so sure that Turn 10 will be able to function at the level that they did previously. Folks like Ryan McCaffrey from IGN spoke out about this, and he sees this as essentially turning Turn 10 into a support studio if you're laying off half of the staff. And I mean, we've seen signs before that even successful studios are not safe, from Microsoft layoffs or just getting shut down altogether. A prime example being Tango Gameworks, who delivered the Xbox exclusive Hi-Fi Rush, which was critically well received, won all kinds of awards, one of the best games that year, and also sold well enough. It sold a couple million copies. And even then, Microsoft decided to shut down Tango Gameworks. And the only reason Tango Gameworks still exists is because South Korean publisher Krafton decided to buy them out. But yeah, for me personally, the cancellation of Perfect Dark really stings. And just seeing the utter massacre that's going on at Xbox, despite Microsoft doing well for itself, Xbox touting how their position is stronger than ever, so on and so forth. It's just really disgusting to see the level of disregard that we're seeing for the human lives and the artists and the employees and developers and the talent. And generally, you just get the sense that Microsoft went on this wanton spending spree to establish all of these game studios or to buy out game studios, but they have no clue what to do with them. Their cadence of releases for Xbox has been wildly inconsistent, and then Xbox, the hardware business as a whole, is going downhill, with Xbox kind of slowly admitting defeat essentially by making all of their games third party. Like, they're not just coming out for Xbox, they're coming out on, PlayStation and Nintendo consoles as well down the line. They're laying off people and shutting down studios left and right with just complete and utter disregard, without any sense of them trying to nurture these studios and setting them up. And then when it comes to their upcoming releases, you've got games like Fable and a new Gears of War, and, Ninja Gaiden 4 is kind of cool, and then Outer Worlds 2, and State of Decay 3, among a couple things here and there, Clockwork Revolution and Grounded 2. Oh, and of course, they're working with Kojima Productions on this horror game called OD. So there's some stuff cooking behind the scenes. But I don't know, compared to the competition like PlayStation and Sony and their first-party endeavors and their level of consistent quality and the IPs that they have established, Microsoft, by comparison, I don't feel like they can really compete here currently. And with Perfect Dark now being a victim of layoffs and project cancellations and trouble development and it leading to a studio shutdown, that means that Perfect Dark will likely never see the light of day, or at least not for many, many years. I mean, the status quo of Xbox just keeps looking worse and worse. The optics of what the future holds for Xbox just feels less and less hopeful. The degree to which Xbox has been mismanaged by Microsoft, I mean, it is just wild. Ever since Microsoft has become more involved with Xbox after the acquisition of major game companies like ZeniMax and Activision Blizzard King, ever since Microsoft has been like hands-on because they have to get a return on the amount of money they spent buying out those companies, it's all felt like it's been downhill. I just don't know what the hell Xbox is doing. I have no faith in their current roadmap in how to handle Xbox. I feel like all of the moves they've been making so far has been setting themselves up for a worse long-term future, even though they say that these layoffs and studio shutdowns and all the moves that they've been making, it's all about making things more efficient and more agile and setting up for a better future. But we've seen companies use that same excuse over and over again to justify these kinds of mass layoffs and studio shutdowns and project mismanagements and cancellations. But at the end of the day, the rot starts at the core, which is leadership. Leadership just has no fucking clue what they're doing right now. All of this feels like it's face saving for the investors. All of this feels like it's in service of the corporation and its business needs and its financial goals, rather than in service of setting these companies and game makers up for genuine creative, and, eventually commercial success. And with how uncertain it is what studios Microsoft and Xbox will shut down, or what games they'll cancel, or what studios they'll cripple with mass layoffs, I mean, I want to have faith in many of these projects that are upcoming for Xbox, but you just never know. When stuff like Perfect Dark, which seemed like it was getting into a good place with that gameplay showcase, when stuff like that gets canceled at this stage, I mean, who knows? Maybe Fable will see the same fate. I have no idea. It's hard to be certain about anything with Xbox and its upcoming projects. I don't know, man. Once upon a time, the name Xbox inspired some semblance of confidence and some semblance of excitement. And now the name Xbox, it's just a bummer. Nothing about Microsoft's recent handling of Xbox feels like a positive development or like a positive future is ahead. Like there's a light at the end of this dark tunnel. Or at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on all of these developments surrounding Microsoft and Xbox, the recent layoffs and studio shutdowns and game cancellations. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.